Hey, welcome back. This is lesson 3 of AP 101, a crash course in piano. In this lesson, we're going to be getting into some pretty neat things. First of all, we're going to be learning about inversions, what those are, passing chord vamps, what those are, and how we use them to play the majority of faster Pentecostal style songs, such as Can't Nobody Do Me Like Jesus and Jesus on the Main Line, What a Mighty God We Serve. We use passing chord vamps and inversions in all three of these songs. And once you learn the trick, you can basically play it in every fast song that you play in church, Pentecostal style. So first of all, let's go over inversions, what those are. Before we start that, let me teach you this. Every chord we've learned so far is made up of 3 parts. So for instance, a C major chord, as you can see below on the piano, you have first of all your root note, which is C. For a C major chord, you have your 3, and then you have your 5. Obviously, it's called the root because it's the first note of the scale. The E is the 3rd note of the scale. The G is the 5th note of the scale. Same thing with F. Playing F major chord, F is your root note. A is the 3, and G is the 5. So that's basically what we've learned everything in so far is this basic inversion. This actually formally is known as root position. Once again, root position. It's the very first kind of inversion. We're going to call it C1, just for, it's kind of probably the only person that uses this terminology here, so if you don't see it in other places, this will explain why, but this will basically show you which inversion to play. So C1, or root position, C, E, G, F, A, C, G, B, D. It's basically what we've learned everything in so far. Same thing for the minor chords. The next one is called first inversion. And instead of playing it root 3, 5 or 1, 3, 5, we're actually going to play it 3, 5, 1. So for instance, a C major chord would be E, G, C. Okay, let's go to F and let's look at that. So you have F in its root position, and now we have it as 1, 3, 5. We're going to change that to 3, 5, 1. Okay, so a F in first inversion is going to be known as A, C, F. Same thing with G. G root position, G, B, D. We're going to change it into first inversion. 3, 5, 1, B, D, G. And we're going to call these C2, F2, and G2. C2, F2, and G2 is basically the second type of inversion. Okay. The third and final type of inversion is known as second inversion. I know it can be a little bit confusing using C2, C3. C2 is actually being used for first inversion. It'll very easy to understand if you look at it on the curriculum or in your lesson that's been sent to you. So the second inversion, or C3, for C chord is going to be 5, 1, 3. So you'd have G, C, E. G, C, E. Okay? So let's go ahead and play those 3. So you have root position C, first inversion C, and then second inversion C. In other words, C1, C, E, G, C2, E, G, C, and C3, G, C, E. Okay, fantastic. Let's do the same thing with F chord. So root position, F, A, C, 1, 3, 5, F2, 3, 5, 1, A, C, F, and then F3, C, F, A, 5, 1, 3. And we're going to go over a neat little exercise song here in a minute where this will all make sense to you and you'll get a good chance to just practice these. Okay, and let's go over G also. So you have root position, G, B, D, 1, 3, 5. You have the next inversion, G2, B, D, G, 3, 5, 1. And then you have the final inversion, D, G, B, G3, D, G, B, 5, 1, 3. Okay, great. So let's actually go ahead and play the exercise song that's in your class curriculum or in your lesson. Very simple. What we're basically going to do is we're going to play C1, C2, C3. We're going to go to F, F1, F2, F3. We're going to go back to C, C1, C2, C3. And then we're going to go to G, G1, G2, G3, and then finally we're going to end it on a C2, which is E, G, C. And also, if you look on the side of your lesson, it'll actually have all the inversions on there listed of each one with what the notes are and everything. Okay, so why are inversions important? Two main reasons. The first main reason is your melody. When we're playing the melody, you're going to use different inversions depending on which melody note is being used. For instance, say you're playing the key of C, you're playing a C major chord, and E is the melody note. Okay, we'll learn more about this later, so you don't grasp it all right here, and you won't, most likely. Don't worry, but just to get a kind of a glimpse into the future. Say E is your melody note, you would play the C chord as that inversion, because you want the highest note possible to be the melody note that you're playing on the piano. Okay, and we're going to look a lot at the accompaniment style right now in this particular course, so we'll get into a lot of this more later. Okay, great. So let's go into passing chords and see how we use these inversions in passing chord vamps. Welcome back. Okay, let's get into some passing chord vamps, what those are, how we use them to play the majority of our faster songs in Pentecostal style music. Just a really quick note before we get into these, the minor chord inversions, they basically operate the same way as the major chord ones do. So for instance, A minor, 1, 3, 5, 3, 5, 1, 5, 1, 3. It works exactly the same as the major chords do. Go through, play your exercise songs for the major chord inversions and the minor chord inversions. D minor, D, F, A, F, A, D, A, D, F. It's basically the same idea as the major chord inversion, same shape actually in the key of C, makes it really easy for you. E minor, E, G, B, G, B, E, B, E, G. And once again, these are all in your class curriculum or lesson. You'll be able to look at the inversion, play it accordingly. It's something you'll want to do pretty much on a daily basis, at least with the exercise songs. It might be an easier way to do it until you just really have them down well. Okay, great. So let's get into passing chord vamps and how those work. This is actually probably going to be a little bit easier than the inversions, but it's important to know about the inversions before we get into the passing chord vamps so you can understand exactly what it is we're doing. Passing chord vamp. A vamp is basically something we just use to take up space when we're playing a fast song. A lot of times you're playing a faster song and you're on the same chord for a very long time. If you look on the last page of lesson 3, it says, "Can't nobody do me like Jesus," has the chords for that. You'll notice it has a C chord, and you're basically just playing a C chord, seems like, for the entire first line. So what do? You know, just hit the C chord over and over again? No, of course not. That's going to sound really, really boring. So what we do to fill up that space is we use what's called a passing chord vamp. A passing chord is basically a chord that we use in passing. And when we're playing Pentecostal style music, at least for this particular vamp, what we do is we play the first inversion of F. I'm sorry, the second inversion of F with the C major chord in order to create that passing chord vamp. So here's how it'll work. We're going to play, first of all, a C chord, and then your passing chord for C is going to be second inversion of F, or F3, which is going to be C, F, A. Okay, so the passing chord for C is F, and here's the inversion that we're going to use. And if you listen to the audio tracks provided, and of course I'll play it for you here in a minute, but if you listen to the audio tracks that are provided that have the drums, bass, piano, saxophone, it'll really help you to get the feel of this a lot. It's not something that you might just get right off the bat. I'm going to show you the little bit more advanced one. There's also a simpler one. The more advanced one really sounds better, and you shouldn't have a hard time getting it. It just has a little bit more rhythm to it than the simple version does. Okay, so basically the way it works is you're going back and forth. C, F, C, F. Okay, and you basically, if you count it, it's 9 times total. So what you do is you go C, F, C, F, C, C, F, C, F. That's counted as one vamp. It's 9 times total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? You might be wondering, okay, what is your left hand doing in the meantime? All you're basically doing is just holding down the C chord for now. I'm sorry, the C note in your left hand for now. So, one more time. And the fingering on this, you can use whatever you want. You can do 1, 3, 5 on both chords. I do a 1, 2, 4 on the C chord, and then 1, 3, 5 on the passing chord of F. So that might make it a little bit easier for you if you use my fingering. It might be a little more difficult. I have some classical background that tends to help me with the fingering. The F, let's go into the passing chord for the F. The F major chord passing chord is B flat. Okay, and we haven't learned this inversion yet, so I'll show you the notes. B flat is F, B flat, and D. Okay, F, B flat, D. That's your passing chord for F. The major chord of B flat. So F, B flat, F. Same rhythm. might even need to pause the video for a minute now and actually practice that for a minute. Let's go over the G passing chord as well. The G major chord passing chord is going to be C. Okay, remember it's always second inversion, C3. So G, C, E, same rhythm. No tricky black notes on this one. Okay, hope that makes sense. Let's go ahead and play the exercise song for these before we go into Can't Nobody Do Me Like Jesus and Jesus on the Mainline. Okay, so we're going to start with, remember the V stands for vamp in these songs. Okay, so C, when you see that C, V, that's what that's standing for. Remember, one time, one V is equal to 9 times with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and you only hit the C on the very first, in the left hand on the very first one. Okay, so let's play the exercise song here. And you'll notice also, before we play it, it does have a little walk-up at the end. You're doing that with single notes in both hands. Those are not chords. So C, E, F, F sharp, G, A, B flat, B, C. Okay? So let's go ahead and play it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the basic of the exercise song. The Can't Nobody Do Me Like Jesus is basically going to be the same way. If you listen to the audio CDs, the Can't Nobody version is basically a little slower than the Jesus on the Mainline version. So I'm going to play the Can't Nobody in kind of a slowed down version. It might even be a little slower than the CD, just to give you a little bit more of a chance to practice with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do Can't Nobody Do Me Like Jesus. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So Can't Nobody Do Me Like Jesus. Jesus on the Mainline is basically the same chord progression. You notice we have Roman numerals there. It's the same exact chords, but just giving you a chance to practice your Roman numerals. Remember, those are really important. Don't forget about them. Your 1 chord in the key of C is C, your 4 chords F, 5 chords G. And these passing chord vamps, you can use these in slow songs, not in this rhythm, but just to fill up a little bit of space. Play with it. See if you can't start recognizing, maybe when you listen to a CD, recognizing these in places. So Jesus on the Mainline, let me play that through one time for you. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And as you get more advanced, you won't go back to these simple passing chord vamps anymore that much. Maybe you still use them. I still use them. You know, we're playing some songs. You'll still use them a little bit. Basically, one thing you could do just to dress these up a little bit too. We use a lot of these in Pentecostal style music, jazz, black gospel. Slide off that middle black note. advanced passing chords as well. C7 passing chords. Just in some future lessons, actually kind of just right down the road. I think those are actually towards the end of the semester. We get into this C7, F7 passing chord vamp. So anyways, go ahead and practice all of those. Most importantly, practice the Can't Nobody Do Me Like Jesus, Jesus on the main line. Practice those passing chord vamps. Also practice the inversions, the exercise songs for those. And we'll get into more about how to use the different inversions in later lessons as well. So anyways, hope you're enjoying these lessons. Go practice, and thanks for watching.